Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today at Crime Crunchies. I am your host, Courtney C., a 27-year veteran of the media. Again, thank you so much for joining me. It is Sunday, and we are going to be talking all tech today. What can AI do with law enforcement, with investigators, and how can AI help solve any crime, but especially Nancy Guthrie's crime? She is missing. It's day 127. Unbelievable, but there is hope. Okay, the feds, the FBI are reportedly using new tech tools. I don't know exactly what the tech tools are. This was a update that Michael Ruiz had at CrimeCon last weekend. He didn't have any details other than the fact that his contact told him that there were new tech tools that the feds are using. I am guessing that they are AI because, you know, it's actually a really good tool when you have a ton of raw data. AI can take all the raw data and put it in its little machine and chew it up in its little machine mouth and then spit it out into some semblance. And it does not replace human beings, we will learn today, but it actually can speed things up and enhance. We all know that Sheriff Chris Nanos, he is just has the Blarney gift of the gab. He said that there were like hundreds of thousands of cars at 3 a.m., hundreds of thousands of cars, and thousands of videos. He didn't say thousands and thousands of hours of videos, just thousands and thousands of videos. So I am assuming that the investigators, hopefully the feds and not PCSD, are using AI to take all of that raw footage and analytics and putting it into some sort of format, pattern, etc. And we're going to learn all about that today. So I am going to start sharing my screen, and that is your cue to subscribe. If you have not already, you must subscribe. It's the only way that you can continue watching this video. I'm just kidding. You can still watch the video. Okay. All right. So, of course, what did I do last night? I went to my best friend, Chad. All right. I don't hide it. I use Chat GPT. It's my best friend. It's made funny pictures. It's just the only friend I have right now. So what I've done is I've started with my first question. How can AI help analyze digital signals when investigating crimes? Forensic investigators are using new tech with AI to solve Nancy Guthrie's case. What signals can be tracked and patterns analyzed by AI for crime solving? And in case anyone is wondering, AI stands for artificial intelligence. I know you all know that. I just had to say it. So there you go. So Chad says AI can be extremely useful in modern criminal investigations because it can sift through enormous amounts of digital information and identify patterns that would take humans weeks or months to find. The key thing to remember is that AI usually doesn't solve a case by itself. Instead, it acts like a superpowered analyst that helps investigators find connections, timelines, anomalies, and leads. And I think this is going to be extremely important because we're going to find out what everything can be done with cell towers. And, we don't have a whole lot from Porch Guy, but, this is going to, I think, make things a lot easier and actually, like I said, take in raw data, chew it, crunch it, nom, 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 and then spit it out into some way that makes sense. So in a missing person case, such as the Nancy Guthrie investigation, AI could potentially analyze several categories of digital signals. So here we have cell phone signals, and we're not sure that Porch Guy had a cell phone. He looked like he was carrying walkie-talkies and or a Wi-Fi jammer in his little baby pocket, but how do we know that in the vehicle there wasn't a cell phone or even a burner phone? So if If you did have a cell phone or something like that, investigators can analyze cell tower connections, GPS location history, Bluetooth device encounters, Wi Fi network connections, phone movement patterns, device shutdown and startup times, which actually people turning their phones off actually looks a heck of a lot more guilty than keeping your cell phone on, especially during the time when the deed was being done. And we we feel like this is one of the easier, lower hanging fruit for investigators to get search warrants for cell tower data. And companies that own the cell towers are companies like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. They own those towers, and that's why you've got stronger signal with one carrier than you do potentially another carrier, is because they literally own the cell towers, and you might have more than one company that owns cell towers in an area. So again, it would not be very difficult to reach out to AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, get cell tower information probably for the entire city. And then when you get that information, I don't know if they're able to give you a data dump that includes cell phone numbers, the GPS, the Bluetooth. I'm not sure how they parse those things out. If there's a connection, I would imagine that they can. But I think that the whole idea here is, rather than some guy who used to sit there and go through cell phone numbers, look at numbers that might have pinged off a tower at a specific time in the night, they can dump it into an AI program. And the AI program, just like I did with Chat GPT, I just tell it what I'm thinking, and it's able to, with some intuition, figure out what I'm looking for and give me a lot of, information based on what I'm looking for. So I'm really excited about phone movement patterns, the device shutdown and startup times, and AI can identify unusual events. And this is what we're really hoping can help solve this. A phone traveling a route never previously taken, or perhaps a phone that traveled in on January 11th and a phone that traveled in on January 31st and traveled out on February 1st. Okay. Two phones consistently appearing together, a device going dark during a critical time window, a phone appearing in an unexpected location. And again, AI can identify those phones that don't show up in an area very often. And you can put in parameters like, give me a cell phone that's only shown up in this area 3 times in the last year. Okay. And that's exactly what they're able to do. And so I don't have confirmation that it's AI that they're talking about when they're talking about the feds using new tech, but I have to really think that this is what it is, without going into too much detail and giving away all of their little trade secrets. So I think this is really cool, guys. And we thought that it was cool that they were able to do that triangulation, between the towers when you've got a phone going in or out, or geofencing. This is much better than that. Okay. This is like triangulation, geofencing on steroids. So again, you can take a bunch of different categories, dump it all in, and AI is great. And again, this is not replacing a body, because there's nothing being solved here. What it's going to do is you're going to go in and ask questions, and it's going to give you maybe some options that somebody still has to follow up on, look at, double check, etc. So very, very cool. Here in New York, we have gunshot detection that gives out a GPS location. That is smart, and a lot of people are not crazy about progress, but I think it's pretty cool. Let me see if I can move this. I might take myself off the camera because you guys need to be able to see this. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Anything that can help make things easier and catch the bad guy. Super duper. Good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon. It's actually probably afternoon, unless you're in California. All right, vehicle telematics. Modern vehicles generate massive amounts of data. They've got their little black box. just like airplanes do, but it comes with a lot of things. Like in Karen Reed, they've got events like triggers. Anytime a door is opened, anytime a vehicle is put in neutral or put in drive or put in park. So AI can take GPS locations. Again, if we don't have a cell phone, we need to figure out this car. Speed of a vehicle, like is a vehicle coming in the area and then leaving really, really fast? Because that's what Brian Koberger did. We see his vehicle come in and drive around, and then after the crime, he's just like tearing out of there. Braking events, engine starts and stops. And I think this is if they get the vehicle. If they have the perp vehicle, then they definitely can tear it apart, like they did with Annie and Tommaso's car, tear it apart, rip the whole thing apart, take that little brain out. Door openings, seat occupancy sensors. You get into a newer car and it can tell if you've buckled your seatbelt. If there's somebody sitting in a seat, you're going to get a warning. Fuel purchases. I wonder how I guess maybe, it knows when the gas tank's being filled, I guess. Some newer vehicles record thousands of data points. Wow, talk about Big Brother. You heard it was a blue Chevy Malibu. Where did you hear that? Let us know if there's a show you watched that. I'd like to check that out. AI can reconstruct travel patterns and identify anomalies such as unexpected nighttime trips, routes matching another person's movements, stops at unusual locations, vehicles traveling together repeatedly. Like, is there more than one? And I don't know if that's going to help in particular, but so video surveillance. Again, if we've got thousands of videos that people have to, go through, it takes a full-time person sitting at their desk with monotony, going frame by frame, looking at video. And I can only imagine how difficult that would be. You probably, go numb after the first few hours. And so they're able to dump the video in and again, ask AI to analyze patterns, security camera footage, traffic cameras, doorbell cameras, store surveillance videos. Now, I can say from early on, Texas EcuSearch had offered to take drone images, like thousands and thousands of drone images, and they offered for free to pop it in their software, and they could tell it to look for a color. Like if we knew what color Nancy's little jammies were, they could pop in a color, and then any drones going over the area could detect a specific color and, by pixels. So images have pixels, which are little tiny squares, and the naked eye might miss something, but AI programs can pick up those colors. And it's, again, very disappointing that Sheriff Chris Nanos, testosterone man, opted to just not even say no thank you, but to just ghost them and not take their free help. EcuSearch didn't even need to come to Arizona and, have a sub lunch with them or donuts. They said, just send us the raw images and we can do it from here. We don't even need to come in. We don't have to, have a big to-do. We don't need you to break out your expensive water bottles in a conference room. You could just concentrate on your gym time and your Corvette payment, little Chrissy. So that's amazing that they could have searched all those images. But you know what? Maybe Chris Nanos didn't need their help with that. Maybe because he has, super secret contacts that were already able to do that. I don't know. Maybe it's possible. Maybe these are things that are regular tools that they know about, and we're just learning about it. I had no idea they did all this stuff. So that's why, digging into this last time, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Okay, so again, with the video, oh my gosh, how cool would it be to get that video? And again, you can, if they have video, dump it in somewhere along a route that a vehicle would have had to have used going in and out of that neighborhood, and they can follow a vehicle down a road, tracking a person across multiple cameras. I think AI probably could put together a nice little PowerPoint presentation. I can tell you with ChatGPT, if I asked ChatGPT to put all this into PowerPoint for me, it would put it into slides that I could download. So it could put it into, a nice little presentation that people could flip through and watch the vehicle going down the street in front of all these cameras. So it's really amazing. Clothing similarities. If we saw somebody with that backpack, vehicle movements, recurring individuals build movement timelines. What would take investigators hundreds of hours, oh my gosh, so many, manually can often be processed much faster. So you guys, I have to think that, again, we're not hearing anything from the feds, who I'm very hopeful that they're the ones really driving this, because, the last time I read a quote from Chris Nanos, I think I said I lost IQ points. It was word salad. I was dumb after it made no sense. It was mindless drivel. So I'm really hoping that they're running this, because I don't think he knows what's going on. I really don't. I think that they've given him the bird and just told him to, go to Planet Fitness or something. So digital communications. If they do have a phone that was identified, and this is for burner phones, this doesn't have to be, fully paid phones. AI can examine text messages, emails, social media posts, direct messages, phone call records, not necessarily the content alone, but also frequency of communication, changes in communication patterns, emotional sentiment in text. Interesting. Sudden sensation of contact. Yeah, because it's very possible that if Porch Guy was communicating with the mastermind, it's very possible after this whole weekend and Nancy passed away, maybe they just stopped contacting each other. And this is probably Porch Guy. If they could get, data on Porch Guy, this is how they're going to find the mastermind. So if Porch Guy is not the mastermind, this is exactly how they're going to get him. And even, let's just say Porch Guy is sleeping with the fishes right now. Let's just say he was done away with. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to physically be alive, because digital footprints are already imprinted in the interweb. So even if Porch Guy took a concrete nap or whatever, I don't know what to say. Let's just say he is. We don't necessarily need him to be alive in order to find the mastermind. So that gives me a lot of hope. AI may detect that two people who communicated daily suddenly stopped speaking before a crime occurred or after a crime occurred, because there would have been communication after with, say I'm the mastermind. Hey, Porch Guy, how did it go tonight? How's Nancy? Is she all tucked in? She got her soup? How's it going? And then Porch Guy goes, well, dude, I need to talk to you about something. I screwed up. And then whatever happened. Okay. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but that guy was a goober, and this is a horrible situation. So it does make sense to me that if there is a mastermind, there was some form of communication after the night of. Financial signals. AI is particularly good at finding suspicious financial activity. It can analyze credit card purchases, ATM withdrawals, bank transfers, Venmo transactions, cash withdrawals. Patterns may reveal preparation behaviors, secret relationships, travel planning, efforts to conceal movements. And we all know that investigators went to that Circle K that was closest to the house, and it may or may not be connected, but they have these, I guess, kiosks where you can pay with Bitcoin. Again, I'm not fancy. I'm just a regular person. I don't understand a lot of that, but I would imagine that those things are used, and especially if the ransom notes are at all real, and we know that it's a real Bitcoin wallet that has been analyzed. We know that it's a real Bitcoin wallet, and this confounds me. I guess the feds or someone put $300 in the Bitcoin account that was sent to TMZ. What is this guy gonna why would he pull $300 out? I mean, it's very obvious that they put money in the account hoping to see if he could if somebody would take the money out, and then you have to transfer it through a real bank in order to actually spend it, and that's where they can catch, the person. And supposedly, digital intelligence is catching up to cryptocurrency, because we're seeing this more and more and more, and I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars are being ransomed. People are being ransomed violently for Bitcoin because people think that it's safe. You can't break into, they used to break into museums and steal art, or break into banks. It's too risky. They can kidnap people for Bitcoin, and that does happen, which is nuts. But apparently it's a big deal. And it's one of those things with, like, when the internet started happening, there was no law. It was like the Wild West. There's no law about online fraud. And so legal had to really catch up with the internet. And I really think that they are catching up very quickly with Bitcoin. And we might hear that they have no way of catching somebody, but there has to be some way. But again, going back to the Bitcoin account wallet with TMZ, they put $300 in. You really think somebody is going to go and take out $300 if they, I mean, this is a capital crime. They screwed up with that whole Bitcoin thing. I'm sorry. And I've said this many, many, many times before. TMZ should have paid that half Bitcoin. I mean, what was it at the time? Maybe $35,000, depending on the market value each day. There is no way that these companies, $35,000 is probably what they spend on their holiday party. So what do I mean by $300? I've heard that the feds, or law enforcement, I should say, they're in the ransom note sent to TMZ and the Tucson TV station, they were demanding Bitcoin, and they provided a cryptocurrency Bitcoin wallet account number. So you could go to a kiosk or anywhere in the Bitcoin world, online or whatever, you can go and take a look at this account number. It's all transparent. Everyone can see it. And you could deposit. They wanted $6 million in Bitcoin at first, and then they were going to raise it. But then the additional notes from TMZ, that was like, I know where Nancy is. I know who took Nancy. If you give me a half Bitcoin now, which market value changes every day, just like gold or silver, it was about $35,000, $30,000 he asked for. Give me a half a Bitcoin now. I'll give you the information. And then after you confirm it, give me the other half of the Bitcoin. And they provided an account number. And supposedly across all of these ransom notes or notes, the account number to this Bitcoin account was the same number. So instead of saying, okay, let's play, because while we may not be able to identify a person by his Bitcoin account, you have to move that account through an exchange and into a regular bank account, where you would have had to have provided a name, a social security number, some form of identification in order to actually use the money. So instead of putting a large amount of money in, that would actually be enough that whoever is doing this is actually going to take it out, and then you could try to trace and track them. Somebody put literally $300 in the account to see what they would do. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to get charged for murder, kidnapping, wire fraud for $300. Okay. And so whoever did that, it's like, you know what? You may as well have not done anything, in my opinion. The whole thing, I mean, $35,000 to rich people, that's not a lot of money. To regular folks, that's a ton of money. But to rich people, $35,000, like I said, is a holiday party. Okay. It's a vacation. So they really screwed up, I think, by not putting a serious amount of money in that account to enough where somebody would have risked the danger of actually taking it out. Okay, I will stop talking about that. Patterns may reveal preparation behaviors. I think I read this, efforts to conceal movements, which is very interesting because we assume Porch Guy's local, but what if he's from LA? There might have been travel planning. It's just amazing to me that they could dump in information, video of every car that came in the area and actually find somebody who just sticks out like a sore thumb. So that's amazing. And everybody's afraid that AI is going to substitute people, but I don't think it is. I think it's going to let us do more with less, which is, every major business right now, of course, is stretched financially, and you have to do more with less people. All right, internet activity. AI can review search histories, and this is what I think is going to be really interesting because this is where they can get with the Google. They can get with the Chrome, they can get with DuckDuckGo, they could get with, I don't know, all the different browsers and look at keywords, typing in her address, because and we're going to look at an article that's old now, but it's going to talk about how her address, Nancy's address, was put in to Google interwebs right before the kidnapping, which is super odd. And I actually have her house on Zillow, and there's not a lot there, but we're going to look at all that stuff. So, woohoo! Gather around, children. We're going to hang out. Ooh, get a drink. I'm going to take a drink. Cheers, Coke Zero. Okay, I love you all. I do have a Coke Zero addiction. I'm leaning into it. I don't care. You can't make me feel bad. Okay. So this is what's really cool. Search histories, browser activity, app usage, location searches, online purchases. Now, we already know that Walmart, Target, big box stores have been really forward-leaning in facial recognition, but I feel like this AI that we're talking about today is facial recognition on steroids. And I love it. I love progress, especially when we're talking about getting the bad guys. Diet Pepsi and coffee. Yes, please. Okay, investigators can often look for searches related to locations. That's what I'm talking about. Searches related to disposal methods. I don't even think about, but you're right. I mean, if somebody's doing this dastardly deed, they're looking for specific things. They're using specific words. Searches related to missing persons, sudden account deletions. And I wonder if they get with like Facebook and X and Instagram, if they're able to take all of that. I mean, this is probably several people even just doing AI and pulling things, because, just because you get a pattern, it doesn't mean it's that guy. It's still going to take a lot of digging, but just imagine how far this has come. So geospatial pattern analysis, this is where AI becomes particularly powerful. Again, it can combine all of this into one: phone locations, vehicle locations, camera footage, witness sightings, then create a probability model showing likely travel routes, potential meeting points, areas requiring searches. Ooh, overlaps between multiple individuals. So what if they could nail a car, they might be able to find where that car has gone. And what if they could actually find where the car went, and that could give us likely dump points? This is amazing. Wow, wow, wow. Think of it as creating a giant digital map of everyone's movements. And at the same time, that is super big brother. Okay. So, keep in mind that we're all being captured with our comings and goings. But, if you're a law abiding citizen, you should have no problem. Or if you think you're going to, you think you might want to be a bad guy, maybe don't be a bad guy. All right, social network analysis. Okay, so here, this is cool. AI can identify hidden relationships between people. For example, person A calls person B texts person C owns a property connected to person D. Humans might miss these indirect links, but AI can map entire relationship networks and identify central figures. And this makes me think of Donna Adelson, Charlie Adelson, because in the line of communication, when they plotted the murder of Dan Markel, Wendy Adelson's ex-husband, there was Georgia, the prosecutor referred to it as like train cars. The end train car, person A, would only communicate back and forth with person B. Person B only communicated with person C. Person C never went to person A. It was only one way. It was completely linear. And it definitely showed how there was an entire plot. And Donald Adelson was at the head of the snake. And Wendy, I don't know, Wendy Adelson might be getting her day as well. There's no way they killed Dan Markel and Wendy Adelson did not know. I think that they limited her knowledge, but there's no way she did not know. All right, continuing on, what signals might mean in a case like Nancy Guthrie's? If investigators publicly say they are using advanced AI technology, they may be examining historical cell phone records, device location data, vehicle telematics, digital communications, financial records, social media interactions, surveillance video archives, relationships among people connected to the case. AI can then look for previously unnoticed timelines, contradictory statements, movement patterns, communication spikes, behavioral anomalies, geographic overlaps. And this is super cool. Because if you think about, they really only needed to grab a couple hours. So if on January 11th, they know Porch Guy was doing recon, they might have some sort of a timestamp on January 11th. And so they've got a window of time that they can narrow AI down. They can just grab all of this data for specific things during that time and then dump in all the social media. And they may not have a vehicle, they may not have a cell phone, but think about with all these other things, if they're able to get timelines, travel patterns, communication spikes, I mean, this is a real thing. I'm not supposed to say AI. These are simple machine learning tools. I'm going to still say AI with your permission. I'm just going to say AI. Machine learning tools is more syllables than AI. So I'm all about efficiency. All right, one of AI's most valuable functions, timeline reconstruction. Many cold cases contain millions of data points scattered across years. AI excels at answering questions like, show me every time these three individuals were in the same geographic area, or identify all periods where a person's phone, vehicle, and financial activity simultaneously disappeared, or find locations repeatedly visited by multiple people connected to the case. And that would be great if they had that. I don't know if they do. Maybe they do. These kinds of correlations can generate new leads even when investigators have had the raw data for years. For a case like Nancy Guthrie's, the most likely benefit of AI is not discovering a single dramatic clue. It is finding subtle patterns hidden across years of phone records, digital activity, vehicle data, financial records, and witness timelines that humans may have overlooked. Those small connections can sometimes reopen an investigative path that has gone cold. OpenCV is a free tool that can do this for us. Stop calling it AI, though. I'm going to call it AI. OpenCV is 4 syllables, and machine learning is 4 syllables. I'm going to say AI, but thanks. Okay, would investigators need to already have the raw data? And this is my question to Chad. I said, would investigators need to already have the raw data and input that data into AI for the patterns to be analyzed, or can AI research the data itself? This is what I'm wondering. Gemini is better than Chat GPT. I'll try Gemini. I have no problem with that. Chat GPT is 4 syllables. Gemini is 3. Okay, great. Efficiency. Would investigators need to? So this is what I'm wondering. All right, we've got all this data that obviously somebody has had to go out, get search warrants for, and then toss it in somewhere. So I wanted to know, let's say, because in particular, this is what I was thinking. In particular, we may not have a cell phone. You know, that seems to be kind of like crime 101 is you don't take a cell phone. And if you're going to use a car, you really need to use a car that's maybe, 1990s or earlier. Maybe they used an old car. So what if they're missing a piece of this puzzle? What if they're missing the cell phone stuff? Can AI research the data, or do they have to dump data in? So that was my question. All right, so Chad says, in most criminal investigations, investigators already need access to the underlying data before AI can analyze it. Think of AI as an incredibly powerful pattern finding engine, not a magical information gathering machine. What AI cannot do, AI generally cannot access private cell phone records on its own, retrieve bank records without legal authority, search sealed investigative files, pull deleted data from evidence lockers, access law enforcement databases unless connected to them. If the data doesn't exist or investigators don't possess it, AI typically cannot invent or discover it. Again, here it's some of this is redundant. Well, what investigators, if they have the data, AI can organize millions of records, build timelines, identify anomalies, correlate multiple data sets, detect hidden relationships, generate investigative leads. Investigators might already have 10 years of phone records. How many times did we hear that in the victimology, they may look into Nancy Guthrie's life and everybody who's been in that house or around her in the last 10 years, because it can be, If we think about the Ohio murders of the Teppies and how her ex-husband, they'd been divorced for like 7, 8 years, and then he shows up. They might have been able to identify him through something like this, seeing that he drove from Illinois to Ohio. Thousands of text messages, GPS data. This is kind of redundant. Could AI find new data? Only publicly available sources: news archives, social media posts, public records, property records, court filings, open source intelligence, OSINT. For example, AI might discover that a person repeatedly posted from a location that investigators had never considered important. I have to say that Chad, my friend at ChatGPT, has done a really good job, because I would never have thought about that. Somebody's repeatedly posting from a location that somebody had never considered important. So when agencies announce they're using AI, it often means one of three things: re-examining old evidence, phone records, interviews, digital evidence, financial records. And so maybe when Michael Ruiz at Fox News Digital says that the feds are starting to use new tech, they could be taking all of the raw data that they've already pulled and maybe have already sorted through and said, let's just take a look at this. Let's see what we can find. I have, again, they might have some really cool thing that I don't know, but I have to think that this is what they're doing. I really, really do. If anyone watching this has any idea of additional new tech that they could be using that I mean that we haven't talked about, or please let me know in the comments. Because I'm very interested in all of this, and I don't want to miss something. If there's some, new shiny toy out there, I definitely want to know, because I'm learning a whole bunch today. Hopefully you are too. Combining previously separate data sets: cell data plus vehicle data, witness statements plus location data, social media plus timelines. Looking for patterns investigator missed years ago. And again, this is probably through a lens of cold cases, which I think is amazing. Every family should get answers for cold cases. And so just like the DNA is catching up, how cool would it be if they could dump all of the records in? And I think they're starting to do that. I think that they are. I think that there's some big database that they're able to digitize all of police files. And I think it looks through interviews and it can identify patterns that the human beings might have missed. So I think that they are starting to use this. So very, very cool. All right. An important limitation: if a disappearance occurred before certain data was collected, AI cannot create records that never existed. For example, if a phone was never seized, GPS wasn't retained, security footage was overwritten, it cannot recover information that no longer exists. However, if investigators still possess large amounts of historical data, modern AI tools can sometimes uncover connections that were impossible to detect when the case was first investigated. Maybe what it could do is, if they have a database of mugshots and maybe height and weight and description of people, and in a cold case, witnesses were able to identify somebody, maybe they can run that against, photographs or human descriptions. And so it sounds like it's pretty endless. As long as you've got stuff that can run, it can run. And let's see. So my next question: if investigators are using AI for analysis, does that point to the possibility that the FBI has a suspect or group of suspects? So that's what I'm still thinking that they do. I really, really do. But Chad says not necessarily. The fact that investigators are using AI does not automatically mean they have a suspect. It could mean several very different things. Scenario one, they have no clear suspect. AI may be used to answer broad questions such as who was in contact with the missing person, what locations repeatedly appear in the evidence? Are there previously overlooked connections among witnesses? Do timelines reveal new persons of interest? And something like this with the family knows who kidnapped Nancy. Again, I don't know that the family has a name, but let's just say that somebody had been reaching out to Savannah via electronic communication email, like a Proton email or like Signal, which are heavily encrypted communication tools. Then they might be able to take all of Savannah's email for the last 10 years. Because again, this person could have started even maybe the conversation tone, because AI does have a certain amount of emotional intelligence. I do think that, just like we talked about wanting to see the ransom notes, because the way people talk and their cadence, how they spell, phrases they use is a fingerprint of sorts. Okay. I say fandabby-dozy, which is a Scottish term that's like, like awesome. It's fandabby-dozy. That's cool. And probably not a lot of people use that. And so if I use that in all my notes, AI is pretty much going to know that's me. All right. So I do think that I don't remember what I was going to say. I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to say. Let's continue. Scenario two, they have persons of interest. So they have an idea, they have some names. This is often the most common scenario in long-running investigations. Investigators may have a handful of people they consider relevant but insufficient evidence to charge anyone. AI could help answer questions like, do their movements overlap in significant ways? Are their statements consistent with digital records? Did communication patterns change around critical dates? Are there hidden connections? Scenario three, they have a primary suspect. AI can also be used when investigators already have someone in mind. In that case, they may be testing hypotheses. Does the evidence support the theory? And I think that this may be one of the most important aspects of this, because how many times has law enforcement just had blinders on? I think this is very important. They should be testing their theory. They need to have their minds open. You can't just go to, Occam's razor. The most obvious, option is usually the option, but you can't do that because, oh my gosh, how many crimes have happened where they put the wrong guy in jail and they're just now somewhat fixing this with DNA. But I think they should be testing their theories. So if they ran all this stuff in, maybe this could be, a safety net. Does the digital evidence contradict the person's account? Are there conspirators? Are there unexplained gaps in the timeline? Even here, AI is usually helping strengthen or weaken a theory rather than proving it. So again, we're not going to get, total solid, here's your answer, like ding. It's not going to do that. It's still going to, it's just making sense out of all the gobbledygook, which is huge. So in a case like Nancy Guthrie's, and this might be redundant again, without knowing what evidence investigators possess, it's impossible to infer the AI use means the FBI has identified a suspect. What it does suggest is that investigators believe there is enough available information to justify reanalyzing it. Agencies generally do not invest substantial analytical resources into data unless they think there is potential value in finding new patterns. But how many how many law enforcement offices around the country are paying for cold case teams because there are so many, unsolved cases that need to be solved. And I mean, it does a couple things. Okay, so spending money and hiring a team of cold case investigators, what it does is it gives your best of the best kind of a chance to, work their way up the ladder. Everybody's always trying to, promote within. It's like, what's the next step for me? We don't ever want to get bored. And this is going to take the best of the best, the people who are the best at, taking gobbledygook and finding something out. It's also clearing up evidence rooms. I can only imagine that law enforcement agencies around the country are spending so much money on secure storage. I mean, you see these documentaries because we're all true crime freaks that we are watching these documentaries where they pull these banker boxes out and it still has some clothing of a crime from the 60s. And so think about how important it is to keep all of that, somewhere secure and temperature controlled so that the DNA and the evidence is maintained, and you've got a chain of custody, which is very important. If a trial does happen, you have to prove chain of custody. But most of all, it's really about the families. I think that, and I mean, I have no idea if this is right, but I mean, there's probably at any given time hundreds of thousands of missing people or people that just don't have answers for loved ones. And so having a tool like this, I think, is really going to help reanalyze all that data. And yeah, maybe we don't have cell data if it's old stuff, but I really do think even just going through witness statements, Rex Hewerman, they had a cold case team that was put together, and they hired someone. I don't want to say she's a secretary, but she was, an admin person, and they had her reading through like witness statements. And she's like, okay, well, here's a guy that saw somebody that's, huge like an ogre, referred to him as an ogre, is large and had a green Chevy. I don't remember the type of truck, but it was that specific truck that Rex Hewerman had. And it's like, okay, well, how many of these green trucks could there possibly be? And they ran it and they found Rex Hewerman, and guess what? He's huge like an ogre. So, I mean, having had somebody go through and look at witness statements and putting it together that no human person had. So, all right. So investigators believe there may still be actionable information hidden within existing evidence records or data sources, whether that hidden information points to a currently unknown offender, a known person of interest, multiple individuals, or simply a new investigation direction. One thing experienced investigators often say about cold cases is that new technology is most valuable when there is already a large body of evidence to revisit. AI tends to be particularly useful when there are years of records, interviews, communications, locations, and timelines that can be re-examined in ways that were not feasible when the case was originally investigated. All right, we're getting there, guys. Hang on with me because I had a lot of questions. So here's my next question. If FBI does not have a suspect but do have cell tower records, can this help identify a car? Because this is the big thing. We think that there may not be a cell phone, but there is probably a car. Obviously, there was a car. They drove in and they drove out. So yes, cell tower records can sometimes help investigators identify a vehicle indirectly, but usually not by themselves. Here's how that can work. What cell tower records can show: a cell phone connects to nearby towers as it moves. Investigators can sometimes determine, okay, I want to know what happens if they don't have. Yes, cell tower records can sometimes help investigators identify a vehicle indirectly, but usually not by themselves. So, what this is saying is if we don't have a cell phone. But, a lot of newer cars even have Wi-Fi, they have Bluetooth. So, let's continue. A cell phone connects to nearby tower as it moves. Investigators can sometimes determine approximate location of the phone, direction of travel, speed estimates, whether multiple phones were traveling together when a phone entered or left an area. For example, if a phone moves from Oklahoma City to Tulsa in a pattern consistent with highway travel, investigator knows the phone was likely in a vehicle. Connecting a phone to a vehicle. The real value comes when tower records are combined with other evidence. Traffic cameras. If tower data shows a phone was near a particular intersection at 2:17 p.m., investigators can review nearby traffic cameras for vehicles passing at that time. That's not really what I'm asking. All right, let's be nice in the chat. Let's be nice in the chat. I don't have much moderation, but let's be nice in the chat. Let's keep it classy. License plate readers. Many jurisdictions use automated plate readers. If the phone appears near Tower A, but again, I was saying there is no phone. So help me. This is all telling me how we would need a phone. All right, I'm going to skip that because I'm assuming that they didn't have a phone. Vehicle telematics. All right. Modern vehicles often store, we already know this, connected phone IDs, Bluetooth pairings, toll records, which I don't think there were tolls down there. So could tower records identify an unknown car? Sometimes. Suppose investigators have a phone near Nancy's home, the same phone near a remote location. That's not what I asked, Chad. Then investigators could search traffic camera footage, plate reader databases, toll records to determine which vehicles were consistently present. Yeah, it's traffic camera footage, plate reader databases. So cell records aren't going to help. All right, I'm not going to read that because that's not what I wanted. Wah. If the FBI possesses historical cell tower records but no identified suspect. All right, it's not what I asked. I wanted to know if they didn't have cell phone. All right, my next question, since that was not useful, can AI follow a vehicle identified by cell phone tower data state to state? Potentially, yes. So, and here's my question. My thought is that they may not have taken a phone to Nancy's house, but at some point they're going to have a phone. Okay? And it's like within an hour or two, does a phone turn on? Would be what we could get help from, because someone's going to then turn on a phone, pick up a phone. They're going to communicate on a phone at some point. So where does it get turned on and where does it go? So potentially yes, but with important limitations. AI does not literally follow a vehicle from state to state. Instead, it can connect many different pieces of data to reconstruct a likely journey. For example, suppose investigators have a phone number associated with an unknown individual. They might have cell tower records in Oklahoma, additional tower hits in Kansas, more tower hits in Colorado, license plate reader captures along the route, toll records, traffic camera images, gas station surveillance footage. So that's pretty obvious. All right. They can often show cell tower records alone are usually less precise, but they can often show general travel direction, approximate route, rough timing, but they typically cannot identify vehicle make, model, license plate, which is what I want. Okay. And this is all redundant. All right. So the last thing, are there any videos of people talking about AI? And there are videos of people talking about AI. So let's watch a video. Let's watch a video, everyone.
AI tools helping local law enforcement solve crimes. And in one case, it helps solve a cold case. AI tools helping local law enforcement solve crimes. And
let me know if you can hear this. I'm going to turn this on. If you cannot hear the volume, please let me know.
One case, it helps solve AI tools helping local law enforcement solve crimes. And in one case, it helps solve a cold case. I spoke with the Redmond police chief and the CEO of Long Eye to understand how this technology works. When a crime happens, police begin compiling a mountain of digital evidence. Surveillance video, phone records, crime scene photos, and interviews. It can be a lot to sort through, so Redmond police are using a new artificial intelligence tool to help.
Long Eye is an investigative, I call it an investigative support tool. It's an AI-driven platform where investigators are able to upload digital information. It processes the information and provides, I'll call it insights to the investigators or reference points.
Chief Lowe says the system helped them investigate a cold case to pinpoint a key confession.
Investigators had questions around whether there were one or two bullets fired. In one of those phone calls, the suspect confessed to firing 2 shots and hiding the shell casing underneath a deck.
The AI tool helped them process 60 hours of phone calls in a matter of minutes to help them find the missing shell casing in question.
That's a week and a half of an investigator's time, and that would be full time.
The company behind the software, Long Eye, says it's designed to speed up investigations, not replace investigators.
A lot of people picture this as like some black box where like out comes the answer, like Steven did it. But it's really not like that. It's a tool for a good investigator to move faster and be more thorough through these big, heavy data sets.
Long Eye ranks files by how relevant they are to each case, helping officers focus on the key evidence first.
The truth is in the data somewhere, right? And it just makes better investigations, better trials. It's good for everyone.
Chief Lowe says it's not just about saving time. It's about giving detectives more time to serve victims and close cases.
AI will not replace the need for actual officers or investigators, but it will enhance their effectiveness.
Redmond police say Long Eye does not create or predict information. It only points detectives to evidence that they already have with them, helping them work smarter and faster.
All right, that's pretty cool. All right, we are going to jump over to something different. I'm going to re-share my screen. So this is your chance. Once again, it's so fun. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. It's so easy. You know you want to come back. You want to come back here because we're cool. We're cool, man. All right. So this is a article from February 18, 2026. But this is definitely linked in with the patterns and, typing the address in. So this is by Michael Ruiz, Fox Digital dude, and he's so awesome. Searches found for Nancy Guthrie's address and daughter's salary before Today host mother vanished. Search engine trend data appears to show queries for Nancy Guthrie's address before her abduction. And again, this is kind of what started me going down this rabbit hole with you guys, is what tool do they have? All right, let's read. Let's read it together. An internet user may have searched for Nancy Guthrie's home address in the weeks prior to her suspected abduction. Data from Google Trends observed by Fox News Digital appears to show. Maybe there's a site called Google Trends. I have to look. She is the mother of Today's show host, co-host Savannah Guthrie, and has been missing for 18 days. Yeah, 127 now. Blah, blah, blah. Last week, the FBI released a description of the individual seen in the 84-year-old's doorbell camera footage on February 1st, describing him as a man approximately 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches tall, who's wearing a 25-liter Ozark Trail brand backpack. As the Pima County Sheriff's Department and FBI continue to work on the case, Fox News Digital was able to recreate Google Trend reports that appear to show searches for Nancy's address and Savannah's salary occurred before her disappearance. Oh, cool. There's an image. They show there may have been activity for Guthrie's address in the Catalina foothills between June 21st and 28th, 2025, originating in Arizona. The address may have seen activity again on January 11th, 2026. Oh my gosh. This is totally the dude. Originating in Arizona. So maybe that's how they know that this is a local person. The January 11th date also surfaced in a message on the Ring camera app posted on February 12th, asking neighbors to share video from between 9 p.m. and midnight that day, as well as on the evening of January 31st when Guthrie was last accounted for. Okay, so this is really cool. So they use search terms. So explore search trends. So it looks like there's a site. Okay, guys, what do you think? Do you think this is pretty cool? This is crazy, though. And I have to wonder if Google is able to back this search to an IP address. Because our IP addresses on our computers are like little phone numbers, and there's cookies, and there are things who, you know, that imprint things, keystrokes. Yeah. This is a great art. I'm really glad I pulled this article up because I had not seen this. Yes, I picture perps everywhere having full-on panic attacks right now. Yes. How interesting that somebody thought to look up Nancy Guthrie's address and Savannah Guthrie's salary and putting those keywords in, and looks like they pulled in two different search terms and laid them across each other, and the red is probably the address and the blue could be Savannah Guthrie's. Maybe the red is Savannah Guthrie's salary, because I would imagine somebody's looking at that first to see if it's even valuable to go to Nancy's, but then now we have Nancy's address being pulled up. That's crazy. A PCSD captain replied to the post asking users to look for verified posts from the department when submitting tips. Officially, investigators are seeking home security video recorded within 2 miles of Guthrie's. All right, so we know all this. All right, I'm going to play around with this, and maybe I can pull up some different search terms. And Arizona past year, interest over time. That's crazy. So somebody can even put in the state. And Harvey Levin, everybody seemed to think that this person was local. This is for sure someone in Arizona. Google Trends query. Sorry, my brain starts going. Very interesting. All right, let's watch another video. These videos are always fun. Let's watch a video. All right, this is YouTube. How detectives are using artificial intelligence. Actually, let me just take this. Let me remove this. Let me do talk amongst yourselves. Share screen, share entire screen. Well, no, I can't do that. All right. All right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to hurry. I'm hurrying. All right. So this is 5 minutes long. Let's just see how detectives are using it.
This is AIX, your daily dose of AI news.
Picture this. A triple murder case goes cold for 19 years. 3 lives brutally taken. No justice. Then, In 2023, Kerala police upload old photos of the suspects into an AI system. And boom, the AI ages their faces, finds a 90% match on a wedding photo on Facebook, and within days, both killers are behind bars. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. What if I told you that artificial intelligence is solving murders, finding missing children, and catching criminals in ways that would make Sherlock Holmes jealous? Today, we're diving into the mind-blowing world of AI detectives. And trust me, what you're about to learn will change how you think about crime solving forever. But here's the thing, it's not all good news. Stick around because this story has a dark side too. So how exactly does AI catch criminals? Let me blow your mind with the tech police are using right now. Facial recognition. This isn't your iPhone's Face ID. We're talking about systems that can scan millions of faces in seconds. Miami police went from solving 45% of murders to 68% after they started using it. Predictive analytics. AI literally predicts where crimes will happen. It's like Minority Report, but real. Pattern recognition. Remember the Golden State Killer? Caught after 40 years because AI connected DNA patterns across databases. Real-time analysis. AI can process 3,000 pages of evidence in 30 hours. A human? That would take 81 years. But wait, it gets crazier. Let me hit you with some cases that'll make your jaw drop. The Facebook wedding photo case. Those Kerala killers I mentioned, they'd been living normal lives for 19 years. New identities, new careers, even married school teachers. But AI aged their faces and found them in a single Facebook photo. Game over. The MS-13. Most wanted. FBI couldn't find this killer for years. Then they ran his associate's photo through facial recognition, tracked her to a gym parking lot, and boom, arrested him right there. $100,000 reward collected. The Somerset cold cases. UK police fed 27 cold cases into AI. What would take detectives 81 years to review? AI did it in 30 hours. That's not just impressive, that's revolutionary. But here's where things get scary. 8 innocent Americans have been wrongfully arrested because of facial recognition. 8 lives turned upside down. Portia Woodruff, 8 months pregnant, arrested for carjacking she didn't commit. Spent 11 hours in detention. Why? Because an AI said she looked like the suspect. In Detroit, their own police chief admitted facial recognition alone is wrong 96% of the time.
Wow.
96%.
That's not good.
And get this, studies show these systems are less accurate for people of color. We're talking about technology that could literally be encoding racism into law enforcement. Some judges are already throwing out cases.
Yikes.
In Cleveland, a murder case just got tossed because police relied too heavily on Clearview AI, software that literally says, "Don't use this as evidence,"
Wow.
in its own disclaimer. So where do we go from here? AI is already detecting fake IDs, tracking stolen goods on the
That's
dark
good.
web, and even predicting crimes before they happen. Some departments are experimenting with AI that can analyze sewage to track drug use patterns.
What?
Wild, right?
That's gross.
But here's the million-dollar question. How do we use this incredible power responsibly? Because make no mistake, this technology is only getting more powerful. In 5 years, 10 years, AI might be solving crimes we can't even imagine yet. Look, AI detectives are here to stay. They're solving decades-old murders and saving lives. but they're also putting innocent people in jail.
Well, maybe they don't
This isn't
use
just
it for
about
that facial
technology.
recognition.
It's about justice. It's about your safety, your privacy, your future. So here's what I want you to do. Hit that subscribe button because we're going to keep tracking this story.
Oh, I bet. Okay, well, and it's funny because I'm 100% sure that AI made this entire video. So there you go. Let's see. All right. Very cool. All right, the last thing I'm going to share is I did pull up Nancy's address on Zillow. I said I would because I was wondering if there was anything we've seen some folks mention that her house was listed for sale and then it was taken off the market and they were going to sell it and whatnot. So this is her address, 5820 North Camino Escalante. And I'm sure that there's tons of Google searches now if we went to Google Trends, but the house was built in 1969 on almost 1 acre. It's got an estimate of $1 million. And the home value, but it did not give me sales history. And if it had been put on price history is unavailable. If it had been put on the market, it would have been listed here. Public tax history, it doesn't even really have anything that is useful. And just to show you guys, so here's her house right here. It's not a corner lot. What you don't see by just looking at this aerial photo is there's no visibility of any of these homes. And I had originally thought that maybe somebody had parked here and then gone through these yards, but I mean, it's prickly pear, cactus. And it's not to say that somebody wouldn't go through. I'm sure that they would, but it's just not that easy to have gone between yards. So we've got some nearby homes, schools, and nothing. So if the house was listed for sale, it's not listed here. So, and it would be. Let me look at a house that is for sale. Let's look at this one. This one was just sold. Let's look at the price history here because we can see when it went on the market. Let's just scroll down. See this price history, listed for sale, April 5th, 2024, pending sale. Within 4 days, they had a pending sale, and on 4/26, it was sold. So I do not believe that Nancy's house was ever listed for sale based on this information. If she had listed her house for sale, it would be listed here. You would see listed for sale and then removed from MLS if she had stopped it. So I know that there are a lot of reports going around that she had listed the house for sale, but according to Zillow, that is not the case. So I can cross that rumor off. Nancy did not have her home listed for sale at any time. And she purchased the home before there were electronic records, and there's very limited information. So that solves that. All right. Stop screen. All right. Well, we got through another day, another presentation of very interesting science facts. Hopefully you guys found this as interesting as I did. And I'm very hopeful that, again, I'm hopeful that the feds actually are honing in on somebody. And if they are, the main modus operandi that the feds will use is they're going to get their case almost 90% buttoned up before they even make an arrest. They get it ready for trial before they even make an arrest. And I am hoping that with all of this data and the fact, and more importantly, the fact that they have not come out with more video, bits of the ransom note, they've not done any AI of the photo of Porch Guy. They've not done anything and asked for the public's help other than February 10th when they put the video out, and February 12th where they put the still photo of the recon photo from January 11th and they asked for the public's help. They have not asked for the public's help once since February 12th. And that tells me that they don't need our help. And they don't need our help because they are super smart. And they've got all these tools at their fingertips. They are not using Chris Nanos. He is able to just look at himself in the mirror and comb his hair and flex his 70-year-old pectoral muscles, which I'm sure he looks at himself. It's scary. I can't get that out of my head now. I need to erase. Ugh. So we learned a lot about AI, and I am very, very, very hopeful looking at all of this now that the feds are going to get their man. And, you know, if they can get a vehicle, maybe they can even find the dump spot. Never say never, you guys, because that was the biggest thing is, you know, can we just get Nancy's body back? And maybe they can, maybe they can't. But if they can get a vehicle with all this information, it's very hopeful that they can find a location that the vehicle was driven to, and maybe they can get her, which would be amazing. And you know what? Any day now, we might get an update any day now. So our cup is half full, you guys. We are going to be positive, and we're going to see this to the end. I am here. I am the Nancy Guthrie girl, and I'm here. I'm going to do it. I'll be here. I really thank you all so much for joining me again today. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more live content, all Nancy, all the time. And until the next time, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Okay? Toodaloo.